There is a stranger living in your house. You see him in the mirror every morning, but you do not know him. You think you are the master of your own mind. You believe that when you choose a partner, choose a career, or choose to get angry, it is you making that choice. But there are moments, glitches in the matrix of your personality that suggest otherwise. Have you ever felt a sudden, inexplicable wave of rage over a trivial annoyance? Have you ever sabotaged a relationship that was going perfectly well, almost as if an invisible hand turned the wheel toward the cliff? Have you ever promised yourself you would change a bad habit, only to find yourself doing it again the very next day, watching helplessly like a passenger in your own body? Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist who mapped the darkest corners of the human psyche, had a terrifying explanation for this. He said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Read that again. The disasters in your life, the toxic patterns, the failures you blame on bad luck. Jung suggests they are not accidents. They are orchestrated. They are being directed by a hidden aspect of your personality that you have rejected, ignored, and locked away. This aspect is called the shadow. And if you do not know how to spot it, it is not just living in the basement of your mind, it is running the entire operation. Welcome back to the Dark Citadel. Today, we are not dealing with surface-level motivation. We are descending into the underworld of the psyche. We are going to expose the 7 clear signs that your shadow has taken control of your life. And we are going to learn how to reclaim the throne of your own mind. This is not about becoming a good person. It is about becoming a whole person. To understand the signs, you must first understand the creature. What is the shadow? In our modern world, we often mistake the shadow for evil. We think it is just the part of us that wants to hurt others. But this is a misunderstanding. The shadow is simply everything you have rejected about yourself. When you were a child, you were a vast, 360-degree being. You were kind, but also aggressive. You were generous, but also selfish. You were quiet, but also loud. But then, the socialization process began. Your parents, your teachers, and your culture told you, don't be angry, don't be greedy, don't be too loud, be nice. So, to survive and be loved, you took those unacceptable parts of yourself and you shoved them into a mental bag. You dragged this bag behind you, throwing more and more of yourself into it as you grew up. You created a persona, a mask of who you think you should be, and you exiled the rest into the shadow. But here is the brutal truth about psychology. Nothing you repress ever dies. It simply goes underground. It grows feral in the dark. It develops a will of its own. And the more you try to be a perfect, nice, civilized human being, the denser and more dangerous your shadow becomes. As Jung warned, the brighter the light, the darker the shadow. Now, let us look at the 7 warning signs that this bag has burst open and is spilling into your reality. The first sign is the most common and the most deceptive: projection, or the mirror effect. Have you ever met someone who irritated you instantly? Not just a mild annoyance, but a visceral, burning hatred? Perhaps they were arrogant, or lazy, or attention-seeking. You obsessed over them. You complained about them to your friends. You couldn't understand how anyone could be so awful. Jung would tell you to stop looking at them and look in the mirror. This is projection. The shadow disguises itself by projecting its own qualities onto other people. If you are a person who prides yourself on being humble, you will repress your own arrogance. You will hide it so deep you don't even know it's there. But when you see someone else displaying arrogance, your shadow recognizes it. It triggers a violent emotional reaction because that person is acting out the forbidden part of you. The intensity of your judgment is the giveaway. If you are neutral toward a behavior, it is just an observation. If you are triggered by it, it is a projection. The world is a giant Rorschach test. The things you hate most in others are the things you are most afraid to admit exist in you. The second sign is the disproportionate reaction. Imagine you are sitting at a table and a glass of water spills. A rational reaction is to grab a towel. But sometimes, the glass spills, and you explode. You scream. You feel a surge of rage that makes your hands shake. You feel like the world is ending. Later, when you calm down, you wonder, why did I react like that? This is a shadow hijack. When your emotional reaction is 90% larger than the event that caused it, the event is just a trigger. The emotion is coming from the shadow. That rage is not about the spilled water. It is about 20 years of feeling unheard, or unrespected, or out of control. The shadow stores all the unfelt emotions of your past in a pressurized tank. When a small crack appears, like a minor inconvenience, the pressure explodes. If you find yourself flying into a rage or dissolving into tears over trivial matters, your shadow is venting its pressure through you. The third sign is inexplicable self-sabotage. This is perhaps the most tragic sign. You finally get the promotion you worked for. You finally meet a partner who treats you with respect. You finally start getting into shape. And then, without knowing why, you destroy it. You show up late to the big meeting. You pick a fight with your partner over nothing. You binge eat for 3 days straight. Why? Because your conscious mind wants success, but your shadow identifies with failure. If you have spent your life believing deep down that you are unworthy, your shadow will protect that identity at all costs. Happiness feels unfamiliar. It feels unsafe. Chaos feels like home. So, when you get too close to the light, the shadow pulls the emergency brake. It orchestrates a disaster to bring you back down to the level of misery where it feels comfortable. It is not bad luck. It is a system correction by a shadow that is terrified of your light. The fourth sign is the loop of repetition. Do you find yourself dating the same person over and over again, just with different faces? The alcoholic, the narcissist, the emotionally unavailable? Do you find yourself having the same conflict with every boss you've ever had? Freud called this repetition compulsion. It is the shadow's attempt to resolve a past trauma by recreating it in the present. If you felt rejected by a parent, your shadow will guide you toward partners who will reject you in a subconscious attempt to finally win their love. But you never win. You just re-traumatize yourself. Until you recognize the pattern, you are a puppet walking in a circle, thinking you are walking in a straight line. If your life feels like a script that keeps replaying the same tragedy, the shadow is the director. The fifth sign is the nice person syndrome. Beware the person who is incapable of anger. Beware the person who always smiles, who never says no, who is always the victim. This is often a sign of a dangerously repressed shadow. Aggression is a natural human instinct. If you repress it completely to be a nice person, that aggression does not vanish. It mutates. It turns into passive aggression. The shadow of the nice person comes out in sarcasm, in forgetting to do things, in being late, in subtle guilt trips, in the silent treatment. They cannot stab you in the front, so their shadow stabs you in the back. A truly integrated person is capable of aggression, but chooses peace. A person who is incapable of aggression is not virtuous. They are harmless. And as Jung noted, there is a lack of vitality in them. Their shadow eventually drains their life force, leaving them resentful, bitter, and exhausted. The sixth sign is compulsive numbing. Look at your habits in the empty spaces of your life. When you have a moment of silence, what do? Do you immediately reach for your phone? Do you pour a drink? Do you turn on the television? We live in an age of mass distraction, and this is an age of mass shadow repression. We numb ourselves because the moment we stop, the shadow starts to speak. The guilt, the shame, the fear, the unlived dreams, they all rise to the surface in the silence. So, we drown them out with dopamine. If you cannot sit in a room alone for 30 minutes without distraction, your shadow is chasing you, and you are running for your life. You are sedating your anxiety, but you are also sedating your soul. The seventh, and perhaps most surprising sign, is intense jealousy. We tend to think of the shadow as only containing our negative traits, but Jung spoke of the golden shadow. The golden shadow contains your repressed greatness. It contains your creativity, your power, your leadership, your genius, parts of you that you hid away because you were afraid of shining too bright, afraid of being judged, or afraid of failure. When you feel a burning, gut-wrenching jealousy towards someone who is successful, or charismatic, or free, pay close attention. You are not jealous of them. You are resonating with them. They are holding a mirror up to your golden shadow. You hate them because they are living the life you know you are capable of living, but are too afraid to claim. Jealousy is not a sin. It is a map. It is your shadow pointing a shaking finger at your destiny and saying, "That belongs to us." So, if you see these signs in your life, if you see the puppet strings, what do? The instinct is to fight, to cut it out, to try harder to be good. But you cannot defeat a shadow by attacking it. You only make it darker. The only way out is integration. Integration means turning around, facing the monster in the basement, and asking it what it wants. It means accepting that you are not just the good person you pretend to be. You are capable of terrible things. You are capable of aggression, of selfishness, of cruelty. And strangely, it is only by accepting these parts that you can control them. As Jung said, "I would rather be whole than good." The next time you feel that irrational rage, pause. Don't suppress it, and don't act on it. Just observe it. Ask, what part of me is screaming right now? The next time you feel intense jealousy, ask, what potential in myself am I denying? The next time you judge someone, ask, do I do this? Is this me? This is the work of the dark citadel. We do not fear the dark, we use it. The shadow, when integrated, becomes the source of your energy. It gives you the ability to say, no. It gives you the fire to protect your family. It gives you the drive to conquer your goals. It turns you from a fragmented, polite, harmless child into a dangerous, disciplined, and sovereign adult. Here is your challenge for the week. It is a game of catch the shadow. For the next 7 days, simply watch yourself. Watch for the disproportionate reaction. Watch for the judgment. Watch for the jealousy. When you catch it, do not shame yourself. Just say, I see you. By bringing the shadow into the light of your awareness, it loses its power to control you from behind the scenes. The puppet strings are cut. The script is yours to rewrite. If you are ready to stop running from yourself and start ruling your own mind, make sure you are subscribed to the Dark Citadel. Turn on the notifications. We are digging deeper than anyone else dares to go. The world wants you to be a polite victim. We are here to help you become a whole human being. Face your shadow, or it will remain your fate.